Hello, everybody, and welcome to Alternative Interactions. I'm Gary. Well, today you join me, and I'm going to do a pendulum reading. I haven't done one for a fair while, and this morning, last night, I asked Source for a bit of guidance on what I should really be doing for a show today. Um, Needed to do a show. I like to do a show every other day if I can these days, and I was looking at a few bits and pieces, and they didn't really inspire me. And then I got an email from Deborah. And Deborah's in Australia, and she was talking to me in the email about she wasn't how long she'd be able to continue watching my programs because of her access to the internet via their new facial recognition or ID, not digital ID, but it kind of is, or ID safeguarding um, law that they put in for children. And I thought, oh dear, this is not good. I mean, we know that Australia has been used as a guinea pig on many things, and certainly we know that the New World Order, our lovely dumb elites and deletes, like to spread the fear and the pain around the globe, as it were, around the realm. But clearly, this one is a little bit distasteful to say the least. Now, I've looked at a couple of things, and I've actually shared a humorous thing on Telegram. Actually, it's not really humorous, but how can I put it? It is a side swipe to what's going on. Now, clearly, there's a lot of anguish, and there's going to be an awful lot of frustration over what's going on. I've written down a couple of questions that I think might be of interest for my pendulum. And so here we go. Now, I've done a protection on myself before I do this. It's very important that we always protect ourselves when going into different realms. Now, I only channel my higher self directly. I do not channel and will not channel other entities, either via my higher self or directly. Playing with fire as far as I'm concerned. That's just me, though, isn't it? So I've done a protection, lit some dragon breath as they call it, or and some sage, Palo Santo wood, and we're ready to rock and roll. Now, the pendulum itself, I'm using a crystal amethyst. It's a zebra amethyst, I think, from memory. And as you can see, I'm not moving my hand in any way, shape, or form, and the pendulum's going backwards and forwards. This means my connection for me personally is good, and the higher self is happy to work with me. And that pendulum's probably swinging 15 centimeters, 6 inches at least, and I'm not moving my hand in any way, shape, or form. Now, when I start asking questions, I will I do get pulls on the crystal, the pendulum. It actually physically pulls my hand. And what happens is, just stop that. What happens is the energy pulls my hand and it will make it move and wiggle around. I can assure you it's not me moving the pendulum, and I will not tolerate, I will not tolerate people saying otherwise. Last time I did a pendulum reading, I was trolled quite badly. I'm not playing that game. Zero tolerance on this one. Okay. My hand will move slightly. It's impossible for it not to move slightly. Okay. It's how the pendulum works. I get an energy come through me, and the pendulum gets heavier and heavier, and the stronger the pull. Now, with my pendulum, it's very interesting that once the swing's established, if it hits my arm, it's 100% yes. It's just below the arm. It's around 90%. And depending on the swing, will depend on the percentage that I'm correct about the answer, and will often lead me to ask further questions about things. Okay. Now, for me personally, clockwise is a yes, and anti-clockwise is a no. Okay. Now, some pendulums go backwards and forwards as a yes and side to side as a yes. Mine does not. Mine goes backwards and forwards when it's ready to work with me. And as you can see, I'm not moving my hand at all. And the pendulum's going to get bigger and bigger in the swing, going backwards and forwards because my higher self is happy to work with me over this. Okay. So now let's get on to the questions, please. So, higher self. Now, is this facial recognition stroke ID Big Brother overstep within the Australia? And it's gone straight to a yes. And it's now hit my arm. Okay, it's just so it's not quite 100. It's not a really strong whoa, but it certainly is an overstep. Okay. Now, is this a deliberate, planned overstep of the current government stroke puppet politicians that we have there in Australia? And a very good swing straight away, and it's hit my arm. There we go. So, yes, 100%. Now, clearly it's a New World Order, Big Brother overstep, and they're playing the game for their masters. Now, lovely pendulum, higher self, are there ways around the facial recognition and IDs that they require? And we're getting a yes. But as we can see, it's not quite hitting my arm. 80% yes. So there are things that you can do to migrate and change and get round this, okay? But not 100%. There's no way of 100% doing so. Is there 100% way of getting around this digital system? And it's going to a no. And by digital system, I meant facial ID. But again, it's only about 50% no. So there are things that we can do or you can do in Australia. Now, would something called a VPN higher self be of assistance in getting around this system? I actually feel quite a good pull on this one. So yes, 90%, 99%, 95%, it's actually hit my arm now. So a VPN would be very, very interesting. Now, something I saw today while looking was they were reporting that the teenagers for facial recognition were uploading pictures of dogs. Would this actually work in the short term, higher self? Wow, it's just skimmed my arm. It's hit my arm now. So it appears that a VPN and or using a picture of your favorite animal, dog, I should imagine cats would work just as well, would get round this. I think we can clearly see how ridiculous the whole situation is. and I think we know it's why it's designed for what it's going to be used for. So it's obviously just come in. So are Australians going to be stuck with this system for a while? Now, as we can see, it's a yes, but it's not a big yes. 30%. So I would assume that it's not going to be a long-term inconvenience. Mm. So will this digital system go in the future? Will it be ended? Yes, it will. Let's hit my arm. So it's definitely going to be repealed and it won't last too long. Now, I've done a few shows with other people and I've been shown some things as well. And so this question I think links into this quite nicely. So let me just adjust this a bit. There we go. You'd rather see the pendulum in the top of my head, I'm sure. Now, lovely pendulum, higher self. That's it, swing, lovely. Thank you very much. Beautiful connection. Will this law be repealed when the Australian government collapses? I'm getting a really strong pull on this one. Very strong pull. And it's definitely going to hit my arm. Yeah, it's hit my arm. Really feel the pull, the energy coming through that. So, you've got this law until the government of Australia collapses. And it doesn't look like it's going to be a law for a particularly long time. So, that kind of lines up with some of the work I did with Isabella and Meten on our last show, and some of the things that I was shown over 2 years ago, predominantly for the UK government. But I think, while we're here, well, can we just reconfirm again? Will every single government in the entire world collapse and be replaced by something that serves people in the future? And swing's getting bigger and bigger. Just now hit my arm. Now, I get the sense that there may be one or two um, governments or systems that potentially stay up that are not corrupted in the way, but fundamentally, we're talking about um, in the Western world. Are we looking at every single entire government being removed and taken down? Yes, we are. And it's now skimming my arm. It's now going to hit my arm, and there we go. So, very, very interesting and falls in line with some of the things that I believe are going to be happening in the future. Now, this digital ID, facial recognition, ID system that's coming in Australia, because fundamentally it is a digital ID, isn't it? They're trying to ID you via the back door, via facial recognition and everything else like that. Let's be clear about this. This facial recognition for access to the internet in Australia, Is this designed to be a wake-up call to the sleeping public? There we go. We're getting a very good swing. It's definitely going to hit my arm. It's now hit my arm. There we go. So again, the language may not be appropriate as in we're watching a movie, but at the moment I do believe that we are watching something that will or is going to be used to wake up the Australian public and potentially the threat of this coming elsewhere. Now, so let's ask that question. Will facial recognition and stroke ID be required and come into law in other countries, fundamentally Western countries around the world? No, it won't. And I'm getting a hit on the arm there. So no, it won't. No, it won't. So so there we go. Um, that's good news, isn't it? Very good news. So higher self, um, is there anything that I've missed, or do you believe I've missed anything regarding the questions that I've asked regarding Australia and the it's hit my arm straight away. Is there anything I've missed, or I you believe that you could guide me into for things that I've missed regarding Australia and facial ID? Well, I'm getting a no, and that's a 90%. 90% no. It's not going to hit my arm. I know it's not going to hit my arm. I can feel the energy, but it's well, just skimmed. So yeah, it's very, very, very much so. So this is a test. This is a, let me just move this back a bit. There we go. This is a test. This is something that's being played out to wake up the Australian public. I'm sure and certain that in other parts of Europe, we're going to get to see in the next few months strange new policy decisions by the dumb elites. Um, but fundamentally, their power is over. We're seeing this, and I really have no fear about the future at all. And there are ways around it in the short term. A VPN, and I'm sure the Australian government will force Fake Book and Boring Gram to change their systems, and because I think they're, was it $42 million fine Australian or something like that, for youngsters going on and carrying on and all the bits and pieces. Um, I also read that it looked like very much that there was no scientific um, backing for anything that they've done, which is of course there isn't. And I think this law was pushed through very, very quickly. 9 days, I think, was from memory. So we can kind of see the panic. And this is another thing that's really important. We're seeing the panic of and on what's going on. They can't win. The window of opportunity is closing very quickly. 2026 is going to be one hell of a ride for all of us, but particularly them, because our heads aren't on the chopping block and theirs are. So, you know, this is an annoyance for Australian viewers. Upload a picture of a dog if you want. Play the game as much as you want to or not. Get a VPN. You don't have to pay for them, but there will be cat and mouse games, and they will potentially stop or try and stop VPNs. but I'm pretty sure the VPN countries or companies that go from country to country will be playing this game with them. So, yes, it's a pain. No, it's not going to last. It's not going to last because your government isn't going to last, you know. And again, we'll be going into that in a bit more depth in the future, I think, because I think that's a subject that we really need to start looking at. 2 years ago, I was showing this kind of thing, and we're 3, 6 months away. Who knows? From maybe a little bit longer from seeing all these things now play out. So I think in a previous in another show that I'm gonna do potentially with Isabella, this might be one of the questions that comes up when we start looking into this in a bit more depth and clarity, a bit more and a bit higher and more sort of like deeper way than I can do with my pendulum. So yeah, hopefully that's answered a few questions, and we can see what is really going on with Australia, the dumb elites, and the panic that we're seeing in dumb elites because they really are panicking now. You know, there's a lot of noise out there, a lot of fun and games out there, but this show isn't for us. Yes, it affects us. Yes, it's very annoying and frustrating, but we get into the stage where people are really going to have to make a decision in which split they want. The split's there already. Which way do they want to go? Because at some point, the softly approach that has been going on has to stop, and some teeth need to be shown. I think we're just about to see that. So, with that, everybody, love, light, and blessings. And please leave comments on what do you think? What do you see this as? Do you see it as a show? How do you see this playing out? Are you chilled out and relaxed with what's going on? Or are you anxious about it all? Because, please don't be. But, and do you have any further questions that I could potentially look into, certainly for future shows. So, with that, everybody, love, light, and blessings. And I shall catch up with you very soon. Bye, everyone.